And good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Saturday, May 27th, 2017 edition of Auto Talk. I am your host, Ed Welsh, and for the rest of this hour, we will be discussing matters that are of pertinence to you and your automobile. As always, we hope to impart to you some useful automotive information and perhaps provoke some automotive conversation on this possibly decent weekend. Weather-wise, of course. It's always a decent weekend on Memorial Day weekend, and hope you'll enjoy yourselves and remember why we have Memorial Day weekend. We do want to honor those who have really done the ultimate sacrifice for this country, which is why it exists. But it's also the first, we'll just say, holiday weekend of the summer, so it kicks off the traditional summer travel season. And I'm sure many of you are looking forward to getting out this Memorial Day. We're going to talk a little bit about that because there's a lot of stuff going on Memorial Day. This is the third year in a row where Memorial Day travel has gone up. We've got over 2.7% more people traveling this year than last year, about 1 million more of us. We've got about 34.6 million of us going to travel by car. And with that said, the AAA expects to service over 7 million vehicles this summer. We're going to talk about how to avoid being one of those 7 million, and we're talking about the most common things that actually happen in road service. We'll talk about that a little later on. But what I want to focus on right now is road trip essentials. Now, do you actually have a road trip kit in your car? Now, some people do, but think about this. You've been planning the family road trip for months, right? I mean, many of you are getting ready to take a vacation this summer. You're going to take a road trip. So you got your luggage packed, right? The gas tank's full. And you even figured out the route and the sites you're going to see. You got all the bases covered, right? Well, maybe not. You want to make sure your vehicle is equipped with some kind of an emergency kit. Now, according to a recent survey by AAA, 4 out of 10 are unprepared in the event of a breakdown. How about 2/3 have never proactively had their car battery tested? 1 in 5 of us do not know how to change a tire. And 4 in 10 do not carry an emergency kit in your car. Now, obviously, car trouble can strike at any time. You don't get up in the morning looking for it to happen. You're not wishing it on yourself, of course, but it can happen. So when it does, you may want to think about having some things on hand to give yourself a little extra cushion. Now, let's face it, when it gets warm out, eventually it will get warm. But summer heat takes a big toll on cars, and it causes overheated engines, tire blowouts, dead batteries. And again, having a disabled vehicle is very stressful, and it can be dangerous. I mean, for example, breaking down the New York State Thruway is an absolute terrifying experience. You don't realize how dangerous it is until you're pulled over to the side of the road and watching cars go by at 70 miles an hour, just inches away from where you're parked. It's one of the reasons why conducting road service out there is very, very dangerous. And whenever the police have to get out of their cars, they really put themselves at risk, which is why we have the move over laws, which I think need better adherence by all of us. But if you're gonna take a trip this summer, you want to have, you want to stock some type of emergency kit. You want to have your battery tested. And you say to yourself, why do batteries need to be tested in the nice weather? Well, we'll talk about battery chemistry in another day, but the truth of the matter is the heat is deadly on batteries. And of course, you want to inspect your tires. And of course, don't forget the fifth one, the spare. When we talk about emergency kit, there's a bunch of things you may want to have with you. And of course, everybody has, again, what you have in the wintertime might be a little different than what you have in the summer. Obviously, you don't need a heavy coat this time of year. But number one thing, of course, is your mobile phone and a charger. A lot of times people take their phones and forget their chargers. Then next thing you know, the battery's starting to run dead in the phone. But you also got to remember that in some places the phones don't work very well. There are dead spots. And if you go to the Adirondacks, you'll find lots of them. But a mobile phone and charger is really, the kind that plugs into the power outlet inside the car, what we used to call the cigar lighter, right? Nobody does that anymore, but truth of the matter is that power port is still there for you to hook up to. A lot of newer vehicles definitely have the correct hookups for phones, in addition to the ubiquitous 12 volt. A lot of them have USB ports where you can just plug in and get some juice. You want to have some kind of warning device. For years we've all had flares, and they are very dangerous to use if you're not used to using a flare. Reflective triangles work good. I've tested a few of these, but I had a little device that had a strobe light on it, and it would basically pull itself apart, like a size of a flashlight, little tripod, and when you turned it on, it really gave a nice bright blinking light that you could put behind your vehicle, and it was LED, so it would run for hours and hours and hours on a battery. But that sort of thing, or at least reflective triangles, you want to have something. A small first aid kit. Obviously, you're not going to drive around with a Class A, first aid kit, but you know what? You want to have some simple things in a first aid kit. You want to be able to take care of a scrape or a bruise or a bump, some Band-Aids, some antiseptic, some of those alcohol wipes. These are all that's a good thing to have just in case something happens. A good set of jumper cables. Even if your battery's good, you could leave your lights on. A good flashlight, a raincoat or a poncho, and you can get one of those cheapo ones that just fold up, the size of an 8.5 by 11, and keep it in the pouch. And guess what? It doesn't take up a whole lot of room. A nice tarp or a couple of contractor bags. Those big black contractor bags? A couple of those all folded up as they come out of the package. Some gloves, some basic tools. So what basic tools should you have? Well, obviously you want to have Phillips head screwdriver, slot head screwdriver. You want to have a pair of pliers, perhaps a vice grip, an adjustable wrench if you don't want to carry a whole bunch of wrenches. You want something with you, a utility knife. You want something to have just in case something breaks that you can work on. Pencil and paper. How many people do not have a pencil and paper inside their car? Well, you should have one of those in the glove box. One thing that I always have with me is duct tape and plastic wire ties or zip ties. Duct tape can be used for an amazing amount of things, and you just never know when you might need it for. I've had odd things happen over the years with cars. You ever have like a window fall down? I mean, just crazy stuff happens. You'd be amazed what duct tape can do for you in a pinch. Some rags, towels, or again some pre-moistened wipes, at least to clean your hands. And those work very well, and they make them with hand cleaner in them, so to speak. But again, a roll of paper towels, good thing to have. You spill something, you need to check something, you need to check a fluid under the hood of the car or something. You need to check your oil because something happened, or you need to check transmission fluid, or you need to check something. Well, having that with you is good. Good example is if your windshield wipers start to get a little streaky. Again, having an extra gallon of washer fluid is exactly what you want. You can always take the washer fluid, put a little bit on a paper towel, and actually clean your wiper blades. You'll be amazed how much oxidized dirt and rubber will come off of those wiper blades and how much better they'll work. You want a little bit of non-perishable food. Obviously you're not going to starve to death breaking down, but you know what? A couple of nutrition bars, you throw them in there if you got some passengers with you. And drinking water is important. I have some bottled water, keep it in the car. If you're going to take a trip, put some in a cooler, put it in the trunk. Bottled water is always good. Good thing to have. And obviously you could use it in a pinch if you run out of washer fluid if you didn't bring any of that. Now, if all this sounds a little too complicated for you, they do make pre-assembled kits. You can buy them at pretty much the big box stores. We sell them at AAA on occasion. We have them in stock. But the truth of the matter is, collecting most of these items I just mentioned are pretty much household items. These are things you got laying around. grab yourself a box. If you don't want to put them in a box, one of the great things to use is an old suitcase. If you take an old suitcase, a medium-sized, small suitcase, and put all that stuff in the suitcase, then when you're, again, you just throw it in the trunk of the car and everything is right in there, with the possible exception of a gallon of washer fluid and maybe some drinking water. But all of the hard items in there, the first aid kit, the jumper cables, the flashlight, all that stuff can be kept in a little suitcase. You can also get a tool bag. You can get those again, at one of the box stores or Harbor Freight. But you can get a tool bag, which you can put all that stuff in there and zip it in there. Again, you want the stuff collected and put in one place so you can lay your hands on it. I have one like that, and again, if you're hauling a trailer, I have a separate box just for the trailer stuff. So it has the spare tire removal stuff and things that I use on a trailer. So having a couple of kits made up for different purposes. When you go to hit the road, all you gotta do is put the kit in the back of the car, or just leave it there. It's not gonna take up a lot of space. But again, if you don't want to do that, you can buy a kit. The most important thing is, it's a small price to pay for a little security and peace of mind. It's very frustrating to break down the side of the road, and it's more so if you put yourself in danger unnecessarily.